Today, I have with me Mike Sarracini. He is the co-founder and CEO of Keyspire, which is a real estate investment training program setup. And he's here to join us to talk about being a father with an ADHD child and the challenges. I don't like to use that word. Just talk about that experience. So, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Andre, thank you for having me.
Before we get going, I'm going to let you plug in your Keyspire here, because what you're doing to me is completely different in the real estate realm, and I want you to have that offer out to everyone, because I think it's definitely an important program that you have.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, at Keyspire, we're real estate investor coaches. So we coach real estate investors to get to their lifestyle freedom day, to have more control of their future. And it's really interesting because we recently just shifted our program design, and I had a number of our members that have ADHD contact us, reach out to us and say, thank you for structuring it like this, because this is a much easier way for me to learn. And that wasn't the intention, to be honest, but it was great to see that the way that we structured made it more accessible to more people. And so I thought those are some interesting anecdotes that we received. But
Congratulations.
we just love our members and just love getting people, get their portfolios built with real estate so they can have a bigger future.
Well, it's definitely one thing I've always noticed about you. You do have that passion about helping other people in the real estate realm. So check it out at keyspire.com. We'll also have it in the show notes. And I think you have an offer for them, so it's even better. So today we've known each other through Strategic Coach. We've had a lot of conversations. Actually, the first time I met you is you actually came to me and say, you've got this podcast, right? Impulsive Thinker. And I said, yeah. And you shared with me how that's been helping you with your child who was diagnosed with ADHD. And it sounds, and from what I'm gathering and what I've noticed, is it's been a positive experience over the last couple of years. And I want you to share that experience, or what did you learn, or what insights did you have? And trying to get around this misnomer, as it is challenging, but I think it's because society creates the challenge, not necessarily the people around them.
Well, it's absolutely it. It's the world is the challenge, not the people. It's trying to uh, live in a neurotypical world as being neurodivergent. And I've learned so much in the last 24 months. And when my son went through his assessment and was diagnosed with ADHD, it was really scary. Scary as a parent, 5 years old, just turned five, and not knowing what to expect and not knowing much about this world. And so when I came across this podcast, The Impulsive Thinker, through Strategic Coach and through one of the links, I started listening to you. And then I saw you across the room at we were in different sessions, and
That's
then
right. Yeah,
mixed around for lunch. I'm like, hey, there's Andre. I got to thank him for putting this together. And so, yeah, I came up to you and I said, thank you for putting this together, listening to your guests and listening to the advice that you're giving, and the confidence that I get in a very scary time of our lives was really valuable. So I wanted to thank you. Thank everyone who has been on your show and everyone who's listening to us now. It's because of you that Andre does this, and has helped people like me, and hopefully he's going to help you as well. So
thank you.
thank you. Yeah, that was great. So it was really helpful, really scary at the beginning, not knowing what to expect or what the heck things would look like in the future. So over the last 24 months, I've done a lot of research, a lot of learning. My wife and I have spent a lot of time with learning and spending time with therapists and experts and specialists, and just figuring out what this is, what is ADHD, how does it work, and most importantly, how we can best support our son into the future. And I'm a simplifier like you, so I take all of this crazy information, I basically boil it down to a couple bullet points, and I have three of the most powerful things I've learned that I want to bring here today over the course of our conversation, out of everything I've learned. So anyone who's a parent of a child with ADHD, or if you have ADHD, it's not your child, it's you. This is the advice and the working process that I work within my son, from everything I've learned, from the time and money we've spent.
Cool. I've always known and respect you because you've always been a thinker, big learner. and you process things very uniquely. And I've always appreciated that about you. I want to expand a little more on your statement about it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the biggest scare? Like, was it the fact that he had ADHD and he's got a problem, or is it ADHD? Like, what was scary about it? What was that initial gut reaction of scaredness? Because I got the same thing too when I was
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed.
Yeah, scary is more. I feel like I would be less scared if it were me. It was really, it's your kids. It's like most people would take a bullet for their kids, and they'd be like, "I'd rather have it be me than you." And so the fact that it was this person that I'm tasked with caring for and launching out into the world and saying, well, now what does that look like? Parenting is hard enough as it is. It's
Yeah.
damn near impossible. And so when you layer on it this complexity and this uncertainty, that's what creates that fear, is the uncertainty. Now that fear is almost completely subsided. Well, it's completely subsided as the uncertainties turn to certainties through education,
Yeah.
through listening to podcasts like yours. But that was that first moment. That's where that fear comes from, was uncertainty. And like, what is this going to mean for him and for our family?
Do you think it had to do with the negative connotation of ADHD? Even like 2 years ago, it was a different connotation of ADHD. Like he's terminally problematic. He's got a terminal
Yeah.
challenge of life
Yeah.
challenge.
100% it has to do with the lack of awareness of neurodivergence of all kinds. ADHD, dyslexia, autism, the spectrum. There's all this neurodivergence in the world that now we realize is really everywhere, and we're really just starting to understand it, have that awareness, and then have that sort of shifting world where we can all
Mm-hmm.
be successful.
Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty on that, because I think that's where a lot of people gets that initial fear is, oh my God, it's a problematic. And the one thing I never got from you, which I highly respect you for, it wasn't that it was going to be problematic to you, like a lot of people do. Oh, I got an ADHD kid, therefore it's going to be hard on me. Victim mindset. But you went straight to, it might be a challenge for him,
Mm-hmm.
and really worked on it that way. And very great point about lack of awareness of neurodivergence. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what are you?
Mm-hmm.
What was your first lesson then?
So my first, I want to make a comment on what
Mm-hmm.
you said there that was really important. Yeah. So we found out, and it was about him. Really, it was about helping him. Um, and so, I had a really interesting thought. Okay, I'm gonna come back to
It'll
this
come
thought.
back. Don't worry about it.
It'll come back, but it was really an insightful moment when we first learned about it. But okay, so what have I learned in terms of how to support him? So here are the mainly the three things, because there's just so much. So um, when I'm talking to him about, so first of all, we talk about it. He was at the eye doctor the other day, and he's 6, and he's like, I have ADHD, and he's like, teaching him to be proud of who he is, and
Excellent.
we're all unique people, and we all have different things with different names and different labels, and this one just happens to be called this, 4-letter word. And we all have different things that we're going through. So I said, dude, it's fine. It's you. This is you. Own it.
Yeah.
And so we're starting that young. And I think that's really important. And this, I remember what I wanted to say is, um, the, when we learned that he had ADHD, it was scary, but it didn't change who he was, because we knew who he was. We knew he's very impulsive. Most 5-year-olds were or are very impulsive. So it didn't change our perspective of him. It just changed our perspective on how we help him. And I think that was really important. Like, he's still the same person. He didn't act any different that day that day one versus day two. Still the same person. It didn't change him, but it just gave it a name, so that now we know when he is impulsive, we understand that there's different tools we can use. And so maybe that brings some parents out there some relief, for anyone who's, as an adult, gets diagnosed, to say, you're not a different person. You still are going to act the same and do the same things. Now you just have a name to something where you can have different tools.
It's the explanation, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
different wiring.
here's the first thing that that I talked to him about is, it's really important for you, and these are actually 3 rules for every human. as far as I'm concerned. But I really talk to him about them. For you, it's really important to harness your superpower of ADHD to decide what you're going to do. Be intentional about what it is you're going to do. And this to me revolves around what we love, Andre, which is unique ability.
Yes.
So really, what are you going to do, and have that match up with your unique ability. Don't try to integrate yourself into a world that's not built for you. Number one, a neurotypical world that's not built for you, without going in with your superpower. If you go in with your superpower, it doesn't matter how that world is built, you will excel at everything that you do.
Which means also clarity of your strengths and your abilities, your talents, and where you should be focusing your energy on, not on making stronger weaknesses.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget, like when the kids come home with the report cards, I'm a big proponent of this in my community. Our kids come home with the report cards. I look for what the best thing is they're at, whatever the best number is. If it's a letter A or a B or a C, whatever the highest is, say they have 1A and 4 Ds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I don't want to talk about the D's. Forget about those. We are focusing no effort on the things you're not good at.
Yeah.
Let's have all of our conversation on the A, and those D's just get by. Just don't fail out, but let's do the A's. And so, right, it's like focus on that strength.
And that's what I do with my kids. Like when I see the report card, I'll ask them, how are you finding this course interesting or not? Don't care. Well, that explains that, Mark. Hey, you must really like this course. I really do. That explains that, Mark. Right.
Yeah.
I looked at my university transcript. I found it for some reason a few weeks ago, and I noticed like, oh yeah, did not care for those courses. It was like there's a chasm between low marks and high marks.
That's right. And that's great. When you have this polarized set of skills and results, that's the best thing you can have as any human being, because it tells you exactly what you should be doing in life.
Yeah. And one last point, the other thing too, when the girls come home with their tests, I don't care what the number is, 70, 89, 90. It's what did you get wrong, and find out what the error was. Find the correct answer. Yeah. So that, that's learning from your mistakes, which is schools don't teach you that. And then I thought that this was going to be a very hard lesson for them to learn. But then I've been doing this for many, many years. And in my 9 year, she was in grade 9. And she actually came out, hey, I got 95 on this test. And I said, okay, let's get the test out. She goes, no, I already figured it out. I talked to the teacher already. I found out what I did wrong.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. I like nice. That rule.
Andre, there's a saying I have for my community. I say, shift your mindset from winning and losing to winning and learning.
Yeah.
And so it's exactly what you're talking about. There's no losing and there's no mistakes if your mindset turns every loss or every mistake, or what people out there call a loss or a mistake, but what you call a lesson. And so that's exactly what you're doing with your daughter. And I love it.
My biggest failures have always been my greatest lessons. Just like Yoda says, mistake is a great teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a great story. When I open some of my workshops, I say that I'm going to tell you about the most profitable deal I ever did. And it goes on as the story goes, I ended up buying a house that didn't even exist, and I lost $18,000. And people say, well, how is that the most profitable deal you ever did? It's because I don't measure profit in money. I measure it in experience and knowledge, because I took that experience and knowledge and I made multiple units of $18,000. And it's a really interesting contrast that the most profitable deal you might do is one where you lose money.
Yeah. And the partnership I ran into was the biggest mistake of my life for the best learning. It was the worst personal experience, but the best learning experience. So,
so that's it. Number one is what?
That was number one.
What you do. Focus on be intentional about what you do and center that around your unique ability. So my son is really good at math and science, and not good at other things. Has difficulty focusing. He's impulsive, and some other things, He has
a difficulty focusing because he's doing stuff he doesn't care about.
Difficulty focusing on everything other than the what. Yeah, exactly. That's a great clarification, right? But as soon as he's doing, his superpower is if he likes something,
he goes all in, my man.
You could probably relate. If he likes something, he is dead focused, and he will outfocus the shit out of everyone. I don't know if I can swear. He will outfocus everybody. I'm sorry about the language, but it's so true, right?
No, it is. It is.
Outfocus everybody.
Do a lot more than what most people think is normal, and then that throws people off.
So what is the what? Yeah. Number two is how.
Oh.
How you do things. try to keep it simple in our what and then how. So in my research and just listening to interviews of adults with ADHD, uh, what I've seen often is they say in interviews with successful adults with ADHD, what I've seen often is they say one of the main reasons I was successful is because I found somebody that let me do things how I wanted to do them, not
Right.
how society said I should do them or how the template says or how the formula says. I found somebody that said that let me get to the result my way because I do things differently. And that was one of the ways, that was one of the greatest factors in my success. And some examples that I remember one example, a guy said that when he started a book in elementary school, he had to read the whole book. It wasn't like I could read 2 pages and then next week I could do two chapters and then two more. He's like, I had to read the whole book and then I could crush it when it comes to a book report or whatever the activity was. And so for years, his teacher, he was going through the curriculum and it's like, okay, we're going to read chapter 1 this week and chapter 2 next week. And he would struggle and just couldn't make it happen. But then one teacher said, you know what? If you want to read the whole book, let's read the whole book. I'll do the whole semester worth of grading in a week. Right. And he said, okay. And he killed it. He said, it's the best I've ever done. And so I'm inspired by that to say, find people like that teacher. I tell my son, find people like that encourage you, not only let you, but encourage you to do things your way, because your way is different. It can be different. It probably will be different than what this society and this neurotypical world is forcing you into.
Especially the school system, because the one thing I think your son should be aware of, I'm pretty sure you've communicated that, but I think for a lot of people that are listening right now is there's a part of a reflection of an interview I was doing on someone else's podcast. And did you get in trouble a lot at school? I did, but not in the point where it's the disruptive, hyperactive boy bouncing around the place. I got in trouble a lot for 2 reasons. Either I challenged the teachers intellectually and didn't like the answers I was getting, or 2 was I always got the end result. Even my jobs, I got to the requested end result, but I always got in trouble for how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's
the
exactly
how,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Like I got in trouble for doing it, but I gave you what you wanted. No, it doesn't matter how you did it was wrong. I still did it.
Yeah.
Right. And for you to give your son that empowerment, say, figure out how you do it, find the right people to support that. That at 5, 6, 7 now, I don't know how old he is now, but that's empowering down the road. Right.
That's helpful. Thank you. I'm glad to hear, because I'm for the first time in my life, I'm giving advice not from experience, but from curating experiences of others. Normally I give advice through my experience. So to hear that
Let's put it this way, Mike.
happens,
if I would have heard that as a child, all the bullshit I went through my last 40 years would have been subsided. I would have a different confidence level. I'd be different somewhere else. But having a parent to say, dude, I see you're doing it differently. Like I tell my kids who are also diagnosed, teacher giving them a hard time. That's fine. You got the right answer. Who cares? You lost marks on the in-between. You didn't follow their rules, but you got the answer. That's all I care about. Then they're like, okay, that's fine. And you're getting that validation.
Yeah,
right.
That's
and that
great.
builds confidence. So for you to observe that, I want you to realize what that does to a child with ADHD. So awesome.
Thank you. It's great advice and validation. I appreciate it. And I actually wrote down in my notes when I was thinking about our conversation, I said, find people that allow you to focus on the result, not on the path to get there for him.
Yeah.
And so, and I want to coach him through and have him advocate for himself to say, look, if I get you this result, do you really care how I do it?
Right? So you're giving him vocabulary as well.
Yeah.
So he can advocate for himself. Perfect. Awesome.
I'm coaching him through what to say. We actually do role playing as well. And it's tough because he loses focus quickly. But when I can get his attention or talk about something he's interested in, we role play and say, okay, I'm going to be the person out there and I'm going to say this. And what do you say back? And then I coach him through the answers. And when it hits, it's really cool. He's young, so it's hard to do now. And I think as he gets older, it'll be more valuable exercise. But I tell you, when 1 out of 10 times these role plays hit, and he's just like, he's got it. He's got the language and he's set up.
You're going to see in a few years from now that what you talked about years before, they always paid attention. You're going to see that.
That's helpful as well as a father who's a few years ahead of it than I am. Sometimes you talk to your kids and you're like, are they even listening? What the heck is
Yes.
like, how much am I wasting my breath here? This is,
And then they fight you, right? It's like,
and then so I'm hoping it comes around. I've seen it a few times kind of come around. I'm hoping it comes around that one day it's all just going to click. And I'm like, okay, everything I told you the last 10 years did sink in.
yeah.
I'm hearing that happens a little bit.
Good. Number 3.
Okay, so the first was what you do is important. Be intentional about it within your unique ability. The second is how you do things is important. Be intentional and find people that'll let you do things how you do them.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is be very intentional about why you do things. Know why you're doing something, because that to me will allow him to hyper focus everyone out of the picture. So if the why is really there, like he absolutely loves fish. We have an aquarium and we have our fish, and why he does it because he loves animals so much. And so he knows everything about the fish. And when we have a task to do, he is so good at it. And his why is because he genuinely loves the animals so much that that he can beat anyone that I've ever seen in this activity, and the work packages here, the results. So
Yeah.
knowing why, being intentional about why you're doing it is what I teach them. And again, these are like guiding principles for any human being, but I think they become even more important when you're neurodivergent living in a neurotypical world. And I would say even more, they become more powerful. They become more magnified.
Why did you decide on this being one of your top 3 rules?
Because I think why you do things in general is a very important way of being intentional in life. Your values, what you value in life, is why you do things, what you draw value to. So if I can draw attention from many different angles of really being intentional about your core values, one is right, know your core values. Another one is why are you doing something?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of just continues to bring focus on important reasons as opposed to, why am I actually doing this? When we ask ourselves that half the time, it's some, we find out what's important and what isn't.
Because I'm really happy right now. Like I can't believe this. Like I don't know if you realize that order is actually important. The way you put it, 1, 2, 3 in that order.
Yeah.
But theoretically, your 3 is actually the best one. But 1 and 2 builds it up to it.
Yeah.
And the why of it is because you said your son has challenges focusing, but that's on stuff he doesn't care, right? And there's a big misunderstanding too that motivation is not an ADHD problem. Okay, staying motivated kind of is, but if you understand why you want to do something and you stay in that why, it's easy to stay motivated and focused.
Mm-hmm.
So if we understand the why of doing things and why they're interested, then it's easy to create that motivation and keep going. If it's not part of my why, it's going to be very hard for me to stay focused. I'm going to have to focus. And
Yeah.
again, that could be a secondary importance. So that's the other thing the ADHD brain has a challenge with is secondary importance. It's not that I don't care that you care, but it's not my importance. So it's harder for me to get engaged.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching your son now to know why you're doing something, then you can actually parse of how much mental energy I have to do it if I need to do it, or is it worth doing? Because a lot of my upbringing, a lot of ADHD listeners, I know this is true for you guys, even in the entrepreneur world, we are forced to do things a certain way that doesn't make sense to us, or to do it a certain way that's not important to us. And then that's where we start getting burnt out. So understanding the why you're doing it and then using that as a differentiator of how much effort or any effort to put into it is very key at this age. Because then he's going to learn what's important to him and where to spend his energy better. So that's why I think your third one, know why you're doing something, is very key to maintain the motivation. Because if you love it, it's easy to stay motivated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I did pick that order strategically, but that's good validation and good advice. And it's going to, even having this conversation, Andre, is helps remind me to do these 3, to talk to him about this. Cause sometimes you forget nothing's perfect. It's not like I go through this list every day. It's just more of like okay, remind myself to really focus on his unique ability, what he's going to do. how he's going to do it based on how he does things, and then why he's going to do things. So even this conversation has been very helpful for me, and hopefully helpful for any listeners to do it tonight as soon as he gets home from school. Go through this rundown.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
And Andre, I did write down, it's what you were saying there in the why. One of the things I wrote in my notes was outfocus everyone. That's kind of the superpower that I want to instill in him. Like you can focus, he can focus better than I can. Um, his brain has a superpower that allows him to focus. And that's what I tell him. I say, your brain's got this superpower that I don't have, that a lot of people don't have. So let's use that and let's super focus.
But there's only one way to do that, by knowing what to do with the intention. Be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about what you do, how
Yeah.
you do it, and surround by the right people who will let you do how, and then understanding your why.
Yeah.
Those are the three key things for them to outfocus anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about the diagnosis did not change your perspective of him, just how you're going to help him.
Yeah.
That's a big subtle twist or a change to that observation, which is very profound. And I give you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing I remember when my wife and I got home and we didn't know what to do or even where to start. And um we said to each other, we said, look, it doesn't change who he is. He's still the same kid. He's still going to have the same challenges as he has and the same abilities that he has. And now we just have a name to it. It's just, but he's not going to act any differently when he comes home from school today. He's going to be the exact same person. And so that really was like, oh, okay, this is not a big deal. This is just,
right,
a framework for support.
and then it's not it's and allowing your child to be in their unique ability or their true self and not have them fight it completely changes the environment that they're in, and it's more of a positive one, and
Yeah.
reinforcing that okay, you're impulsive, whoops, and
Yeah.
you owe an apology, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
the whatever, but we understand why. And I, like with my kids, is be you. Oh, but people
Mm-hmm.
don't like it when I go there, and then change their room. Doesn't matter if you change yourself to fit in, they're never going to like you. It's just now you're fitting in. If you're not, doesn't feel natural, it's okay.
Yeah.
You want to be silly, as long as you're
Yeah.
not disrupting and being a disturbance to other. And it's like, if it's always been environment for me, environment control, having the right people around you makes a world of difference. And for you to provide that safe environment for your child to grow and understand themselves and say, yeah, that is you, go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, but that people might laugh at me. But is this what you want to do? Go for it. All right, I'll try it.
That's
Right.
good.
So this is like just reflipping our the image or the thinking around what ADHD is and what it could be. And I think even Mike, to you, probably I want to speak for you. Maybe I should be phrased as a question. I know for me, even I knew I have ADHD. When my kids got diagnosed, I still had a scary moment where, oh, it's going to be tough on me. I got over that quickly, but there's a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
parents will see that because it's an image challenge. What will people think of me? Other people think of me, or the school system, or knowing the kids are going to have a challenge at school and with friends, and I got to have put more effort into it. And I think that's a natural reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But reactions is one thing, but doing something after it is completely different. And these kids just need to be validated
Mm-hmm.
so that their confidence can be built. And it's all about the self-image. Go for it. Yeah, go for it. Right?
Yeah.
That's simple
That's the number
words.
one thing. You can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
And I got your back.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that's what you provide your son with, that for sure.
Yeah. Those are great. Two things I'm writing down. Go for it. And I got your back as far as I like guiding principles, when you're doing something. So I'm going to write that down.
And I've always been one, it's okay to fail. It's okay to tumble. I don't try to save their tumbles all the time, because when we go back, say, why did you tumble? What happened? What occurred? What can change? What can we do next time to prevent it?
Mm-hmm.
We all got to learn
Mm-hmm.
somehow. So
That's
awesome.
great.
I love your three. What, are they rules or things? You said there are three things you learned.
Yeah. These are kind of, so, taking the complexity of
Yeah.
years of specialists and therapy and like talking to different experts, I would say, and doing all that lovely research online that's who knows what to believe, and just pulling it into just a couple things that are usable. Because you could have 10 books on how to parent with ADHD, and it's not
Yeah.
usable because you're going to highlight the whole thing, right? You might,
Yeah.
the
And a
whole
lot of
thing is
those books
important.
are set
So,
to fix your problem. That's
so
the
I
thing.
just
Yeah.
and put it here. I mean, that's another big thing, as I learned more about neurodivergence across the board between ADHD, ASD, dyslexia, and the whole suite of neurodivergence that now have come into an awareness and hopefully more of an acceptance in society as there's nothing to fix. This isn't the
Exactly.
flu, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a cold that you need a medicine for. This isn't anything to fix. This is just what you do, how you do things, and why you do them, and it's different than the core thread of
Yeah.
society, and that's okay.
And
And
like
that's
I
a good
said,
thing. It's a good
yes.
thing because you're not on the core thread. You're not doing everything like everyone else. You're doing it differently. So it's a good thing that you're different.
Well, like there's a lot of people don't realize, when shit hits the fan, everyone wants me around. But when everything's going cool and calm, they don't want me around. Right.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's not a medical condition, it's a societal condition.
Yeah.
And yeah, power to you. Let's end this off, Mike, with you repeating your three things that you learned for the listeners, because I don't think I can top that at all.
I will, yeah, read them. These are the three guiding principles when I'm talking to my son on um on how we talk about approaching the world. Be very intentional about what you do and focus that around your unique ability, what it is that you're best at. Number two, uh, be intentional about how you do things. Find the people that let you do things how you do them. And if people don't, advocate for yourself. Ask them, if I get you the result that you want, do you really care how I get it done? Can I get it done my way? And I'm going to get you that result. And then number three is be intentional and aware of why you're doing things. Because knowing why you do things will allow you to hyper focus and essentially out focus everybody.
Right. Awesome. And great way to end it is like teach your child skills to succeed with the talents that they have that are not appreciated by the norm. And it's okay because they get to the result. That's all that matters. So
Mm-hmm.
great power you're providing your son there. And I know it's not just that son, him that you're providing, you're doing to all your other kids as well with that mantra. And, to the listeners, the question I have for you is how are you building up your child's confidence by supporting the go for it attitude? So, Mike, thank you very much for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you, Andre. It's been a pleasure to be here where it
Awesome.
started for me, listening and
it's
now being
always
part of it.
it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Mike, and to you, the listener. Thanks for learning with me. We'll talk to you soon.